All right, well, we have our hosts here today. Jess, do you want to introduce yourself and then we get started?
Yeah, so I'm Jessica. I'm a fourth-year architecture student here currently. I'm also an entrepreneurship ambassador, as well as being part of the entrepreneurship, all of our entrepreneurship college here on Centennial. Actually, there's a few buildings around the corner. So basically, this is the first time we are hosting this sort of event, part of the Black Research Symposium, and we're excited to do that. Just allowing our communities to kind of connect in this way is really great. Just a little bit about the actual, the actual panel that we have tonight, and then jump into that. We have our first person at the very end, Larry Long. Larry Long Jr. is the founder and CEO, that's Chief Energy Officer of LLJR Enterprise, which focuses on sales, motivation, inspiration, and most importantly, transformation through speaking, coaching, and training programs. He is also a host of a weekly live show, midweek, midday, Motivational Minute, and author of Jolt. Larry, could you tell us more about yourself? Give a little blurb. Oh, this is awesome.
I'm rebranding as well. I'm trying to make sure I stay on brand. But thank you for the kind introduction. Larry Long Jr., Chief Energy Officer, LLJR Enterprises. In a nutshell, I speak for a living. I used to get sent to detention for speaking. Now I have the opportunity to speak, to serve, and to help individuals. I mostly work with software sales reps and leaders take their game wherever they're at to the next level, personally and professionally, ideally to live a life that they never would have imagined. That's where I'm at. I never would have imagined I'd be speaking for a living and getting paid to speak. It's kind of crazy, but happy to be here, answer any questions.
Thank you. Our next up on the panel is Phillip Loken. Would you also well, let me go ahead and give a little blurb before he introduces himself. But Phillip goes by also Phillip, King Phillip Loken, describes himself as a Black Southern culture documentarian. His photography employs a range of approaches, including fine art, documentary, and character studies, with the unifying thread being a desire to present bold and meaningful portraits of Black lives in the South from insiders' perspectives. Phillip works and has been exhibited in spaces including, but not limited to, Anchor Light Gallery, the Light Factory, the North Carolina Museum of Art, Shaw University, and most recently, Black Box Gallery in Portland, Oregon. Moreover, Loken's body of work can also contain film and collage. King Phil, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she pretty much said everything. I'm a photographer. I've been shooting for 11 years. I started off more service-based and then went into a fine art practice for about 2.5 years now. I've got 2 projects that I'm focusing on for this year. The first one is an archival project of the Black families of East Raleigh. And the second one is a photo project based around the quilters of Gee's Bend, Alabama.
Thank you. Awesome. Now, our third guest, do you go by Kyra or just Kyra? Kyra. Okay. Kyra Radney. Kyra Radney is an NC State College of Design alum who's been using her college experience and artistic background to pursue her passions in entrepreneurship and content creation among various pursuits, including her custom sneaker painting venture, Kyra Customs. Could you tell us a little about Kyra Customs or about yourself too?
Yeah, so my name is Kyra. I graduated from state in 2020, and I honestly started this custom thing around that time as well. That's when I joined the Miller Fellowship, which kind of helped me propel my business. So I basically hand paint shoes. It started off with my brother wanting some different shoes, and it was kind of a test. I'm always trying to test different ways to be artistic. I've been artistic my whole life. But yeah, I kind of stemmed from there, made my first sale international in 2020 as well. And it's kind of just been moving on from there. But I'm currently in the process of rebranding, same name, but different look, and trying to get more consistent in terms of posting and being more present online.
Thank you so much. Our final guest tonight is Travis McKay. Travis McKay was a 22 NC State E-Games winner and in recent engineering research turned entrepreneur. Travis is the co-founder of a medical device company striving to make pre-hospital care easier for EMS providers. Travis, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I guess to tell you how I started. So me and my roommate were both biomedical engineers. I was in the PhD program in EB3 in biomedical engineering. We joked one day that rent was going up. We needed to make some money. We saw the email for Loken in 2021. I put out an application. We ended up winning $600, but I think right after that, like undergrads started coming up to us like, oh, we want to work for you. Like, oh, that's so cool. Like, we want to do this. Like, I like the idea. They kind of like went away from a joke to more like, all right, this is something that can actually, take on some traction. So from there, went on to win E-Games, which has been like a crash course in how can we sort of make a medical device with, some of my engineering buddies and friends. But yeah, we're focused on pre-hospital care, so first responders and paramedics, like that sort of landscape. When they go to the scene, maybe in an ambulance and the person isn't breathing, they might use a bag valve mask, squeeze a bag of air essentially to breathe for them. There's a lot of guesswork associated with that device. People tend to squeeze it too fast or too much air, or not have the capability to get the proper mask seal. And that can basically injure the patient even more in a pre-hospital setting on the way to the hospital. So we're making it, that device came out maybe 10 years after World War II, largely unchanged. So we're sort of modernizing this backup mask device to make it easier for first responders so that they kill less patients essentially. And so, yeah.
Cool. And then just to add, like for clarity, you said that you were a Miller Fellow. Tell us like really quickly what the Miller Fellows were.
So the Miller Fellowship is a program sponsored by state. They really select like some entrepreneurs to help kind of build them up. They fund them for a year. Was it a year?
6 months.
6 months. And they kind of just offer mentoring, just a program to really learn about entrepreneurship and help you grow.
Nice. Yeah, E-Games and yeah, it's like immediately graduating in a couple of years post graduation as well. And then E-Games and Wolfden are some of our startup competitions.
Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourselves. To get us started, I do have a few questions for you all on the panel. Our first question does go to Travis. Travis, you describe yourself as an engineering research turned entrepreneur. Was there a specific point in or milestone in your research that made you kind of make that pivot?
Yeah, so like I said, I was a PhD student in biomedical engineering, and I think it got to a point where I started feeling like Hannah Montana. Like I couldn't be a researcher and try to start a business at the same time and honor my obligations, commitments to my advisor, especially with the workload and demand that a PhD requires. So sort of like definitely moonlighting, definitely stepping out of lab, take calls and stuff like that. Like this became a lot. So I got to a point where I had to make a decision, sort of for like in everyone's best interest, where, I sort of had to like take some time away from the PhD and researching lifestyle and sort of go head first into where can we take this business. So that's sort of what it was. Like I feel like everyone just gets to a point where you either have no choice or like it just makes sense for you to go full steam on something to really see it through and see what you can do with it.
Awesome. So don't be lukewarm. You're either in it or you're out. Number two, this is for Kyra and Phillip. You have art backgrounds and you sometimes feel like water and oil when it comes to monetizing and implementing business practices around art. Was it a challenge for you to sell a creative business to prospective clients?
Sure. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a challenge. I think if you have the work to show for it, it's only a challenge for so long. I think the biggest challenge is maintaining a presence and getting your work out there. So realistically, like real life is that a lot of the time Black leaders aren't shown to the masses online, and that's an article, that's a proven thing. So I think that's an ongoing challenge. But otherwise, I don't think it was super complicated. I think it just comes with consistency, and then it comes with, talking to the people that you're working with and getting feedback from your customers and getting reviews and people start to trust you. Yeah.
What was the question again?
Do you feel like it's a challenge to kind of sell your creative business to clients?
I'd say when I was more focused on being kind of like a service-based photographer first, it was a little more difficult just because it's still something that people struggle with at this time, but a lot of people don't see the value in photography. So that was what I was dealing with. But once I transitioned into focusing on my fine art practice, it became simpler just because I'm focused on creative projects that I want to execute, how I want to creatively express myself. And my audience kind of found my work. And that's kind of that's why I love fine art photography. I'm not super focused on like trying to find this ideal client. It's in my mind at times, but it's just not as much of a focus as it is when you're not like a service-based photographer.
Thank you. Our third one goes to Larry. Larry, are you among other things you are among other things motivator, coach, and inspirer? When you meet people and are looking for who are looking for like extra oomph in their life, what are some common challenges that keep people down, and how do you help them accomplish?
That's a great question. This four-letter word that we're all living called life. I talked about it the other day, vision. What's your vision for your life? And so many times I'm guilty of this. We're living someone else's vision for our life. You think about it, you have a blank canvas. You can paint what you want that to be. And oftentimes, whether it's our background or our environment, that person in the mirror that's holding us back. So I encourage people to really start with a clean slate and let's work on you and your value. And I wrote a book last year called Jolt. Get zapped into intentionality, rediscover and believe in your inner greatness. So I believe everyone in here has inner greatness, and sometimes we lose it, and oftentimes we're not stepping in our inner greatness. Who's to blame for that? We can blame everyone else, but I believe that we control the controllables. And we step into it, we can do anything. And we've been through a lot of stuff. Each and every one of us has our own story, our own journey line, twists and turns. So a lot of the work that I do is really understanding. I ask a lot of questions, imagine that. And sometimes there's not great answers. And KJ asked me a good question earlier about that stillness. I didn't have a good answer. So there's an opportunity area for improvement for me. So that's really, I can't motivate anybody. I can get people pumped up, but a lot of times you get pumped up and then 2 hours later, you're back where you were. So my goal is to transform people and find what motivates you. For me, it's my kids, my father's legacy. My dad passed away, my ancestors. It's making sure that I exhibit excellence in everything that I do. So that's kind of my philosophy.
Thank you, that was awesome. Now I want to open the floor up to anyone who has questions for these people in our family. They do an amazing job doing what they do. So if you have any questions, please feel free to go.
Hello again, my name is Deja. I am a second year PhD student, but I'm a student and a business owner. I have a service-based product, not a product-based, but a service-based company. I lead bird walks. I do bird education workshops. I give talks and speeches. And so my question for you all is, how have you been able to navigate setting your price and knowing your worth from having, knowing your worth in your work, from having a service? Well, I would say you have a product-based and service-based with photography, filmmaking, and being a speaker, a motivational speaker. I lie at those intersections, but I often find that one, it's hard for me to figure out how to set my price
in a way that values my time and my knowledge, my expertise. I've been honored by the governor of North Carolina. I've been on the cover of the News and Observer. I've been on the cover of the NC State Alumni magazine. I've have done all these amazing things. Yet I still find myself being under my time and my expertise undervalued. So how do you all find on through your journeys and figuring out your value and setting that requirement?
I do have a question. Who's undervaluing your services?
I don't know how to, well, I think my services are undervalued when organizations email me asking me to give a free talk. Or when they say, oh, can you do this talk for $150? No, I can't. But I know there are speakers out there who are making $10,000 per talk. So I want to get to that level. I'm a TEDx speaker. Like I know what my worth is, but I don't know how to set that value.
I battle this every day. I'm about to come up on my 2-year anniversary and setting my fees. It's a lot easier for me to say your fee at 20,000, not 10. And there's speakers out there, Jeffrey Gittimer, he charges 60,000. I said, is that Indian rupees or US dollars? It says US dollars, man. I said, come on, please. He said, if you're not 10,000, no one's gonna take you serious. But a lot of times we look in the mirror, and we don't value ourselves. You set your price, which I need to take my own medicine. You set your price. So if you say that you're a $12,000 speaker, you're a $12,000 speaker. That's the value that you're bringing. I mean, what Jeffrey shared with me is corporations, they spend $30,000 a month on coffee. He said, Larry, are you better than coffee? I said, you better believe it. You don't need coffee, you got me in the house. So, I mean, it's really, I would challenge you to challenge yourself to set your price where you believe it is. And for those people that value that, you're gonna work with them. For the folks that don't, and one thing, I just came back from a speakers convention in San Antonio, and a young lady from Houston, Crystal Washington, said, when I was doing free 99, I attracted a lot of free 99 and low fee engagements. When I started saying no to those, it was amazing how you attract. When you're doing $10,000 engagements, 12, 5, 15, 20, you attract others that are in that space. Whereas if you're working right here, I'm preaching to myself, this is what you're going to continue to attract from my experience.
Yeah, I would definitely wholeheartedly agree with what Larry is saying. Something for me that I personally do is kind of do a temperature check on my contemporaries, like whoever I would have my work right next to, see what they're doing. And then also, like you said, really understanding your value. And sometimes you do have to take L's in the sense of not accepting those lower paying jobs because the money is there and it's cool, but I've turned down a lot of opportunities that would have been quick money, but all money is not good money. And then on top of that, like the stress that comes with those opportunities too, it's just not worth it. Then if you do, stick with your value, your rates for everything that you want to do and truly value yourself, like those opportunities will come. Because I recently got commissioned by the Raleigh Arts, I think it's called the Raleigh Arts division, something like that. It's basically a division of the Parks and Rec department. And they commissioned me for some work to shoot some reference images for a public art project that's coming out. And it was so simple, when you're dealing with those bigger clients, like the check is nice, and then they don't even have as many little tweaks or anything they want to do with it. They genuinely want to come to you for what you do. So.
Yeah,
There's like a classic joke of like the $500 client sends you this big list of like me change this color, and then the $20,000 client is like thumbs up. That's kind of how it goes.
Am I undervaluing myself? I think what it is I struggle with wanting my programming to be accessible, especially since part of what I do works with engaging people in nature. And I want to make sure that my people have access to that, but at the same time, like knowing that needs to move over my head. And so it's just like kind of the ever present, constant like battle back and forth between accessibility and value.
I feel you. I want to make impact in people's lives. I also want to make income. my coach shared with me, Larry, you ain't gonna make no impact if you ain't making income. So it's one of those things where if you're not generating, she pretty much said, you're not a nonprofit, you're not a charity, run it like a business. You can still have a heart and still serve people while you're making money to take care of what you need to take care of. And this actually helps you do more of this. And that's a mindset. It's really, for me, it's an internal battle of, yes, I want to be accessible. I want to have impact. Larry loved the kids. I want to serve everyone, but I won't be able to serve if I'm not taking care of my business responsibilities.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. And I think that if being accessible is very important to you, then always have that be something that you carry on throughout your business in some type of aspect, because that's definitely important to me as well. And one way that I do that is by offering prints at different sizes that are more accessible to people. And then also I'm big on community service. Like I like to just be of service to people for real. And it's more like specialty projects when that comes out, because like the project where I'm going to be archiving the Black families of East Raleigh, the end result of that is, of course, to make these images for these people, but they're also going to be receiving digital copies or physical copies of their images for free. So it's just, you know, being very intentional about it, and also understanding that these institutes that have money, ask them for that check. Like if they don't value you, they need to, you know, they need to come up off that bread. So simple.
Yeah, I was also gonna say that they can definitely coexist, and that's something that I've been struggling with myself in terms of pricing, especially because courses, for example, were 90 like 2 months ago, and they're 110 now. So that's like a big change that I have to take into account. But I realized I'm still probably not pricing nearly as high as I should. But I understand that with that comes that different set of clients, and I've seen that a little bit in terms of, you know, who I work with and just how the whole experience goes. But in terms of, you know, giving back to the community, that's one thing that I value as well. And like Larry was saying, it just all is a balance. So my personal plan is, you know, once things start to kick up more and it's steady, my goal is to be able to give back. So there's some type of balance with that. And if that's something that's more immediate, I would say maybe do something once a month, if that doesn't really hurt, you know, it doesn't break the bank too much. But it can definitely be, they can coexist for sure.
I was gonna say, I don't have any but I know like I support like smaller businesses, especially like platform businesses. And like me personally, I don't get offended if they start charging or they start doing like brand new bigger things, because like I get excited. I'm like, okay, like we're doing it for, to me, I'm like really excited. And like if anything, I push it out more. I might be able to like support you, but I can support you, and I can send other people like, you know, hey, this is what this business is about. So even though I might not be able to like financially support, there are other ways.
I have a question about it actually. So I'm in the healthcare space and be curious about the, you know, your competitors are the J&Js of the world, the Boston Scientific, and the major players that have owned market share across the globe for many years. So first of all, I love what you guys are doing. Thank you for that work. You need stuff more modern and more versatile. But how have you found breaking into that space? Kind of barriers are you facing, and how have you found success also?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people preach about, you know, what separates people is like having a good team. So I think that's something I've been, you know, blessed with. You know, even coming to NC State, I just made a lot of friends that are more capable than me. So luckily, you know, everyone brings something to the table, but someone on our group has you know, he works as a paramedic, you know, as an EMT. So I think definitely seeing where you can be, you know, have a competitive advantage is definitely important. So we can have access to, you know, these people in these ED or emergency departments and, you know, hospitals. But, you know, breaking into, you know, such a field like, you know, the J&J's, Medtronics are these probably billion-dollar companies. Most medical device companies or diagnostic companies, biosensors, they typically build the business up to get acquired by one of those companies because they're focused on billion-dollar problems, hundreds of million-dollar problems. And you're a startup, you're shooting for, oh, we can make 20 million a year, 30 million a year. They're not going to go for that problem. They'd rather pay for it or acquire it. So I think a lot of people have the headspace where like, we're not trying to become a Medtronic, but like, how can we get to the point where, we show that works, show that there's a market, show that you can make money from this. And then I think from there, it's just talking to the right people and just maybe a little bit of luck. One of the people on our team, he randomly met someone at a conference that, works for Zoll Medical, which makes a lot of the emergency, devices that are used in the field. And there's potential interest there for like, what we're doing and connecting us to other people. And maybe we might have a partnership with a big company to, they sponsor the development and sort of like the team that we have now to build that product in conjunction with them. So I think it's really who definitely networking, actually, not selling, a bag of air. Like you gotta actually prove that you can do what you can do or what you're saying you can do. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's easy by any means, but I think having a good team definitely helps. And we pivot every now and then, but when people are buy into the vision, you're sort of like there for the long haul and like you'll figure it out one way or another. But ask me in a year, see what happens.
I know earlier you mentioned that you took a break, but did you ever finish your PhD or did you just decide to just completely throw yourself to the entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I took a break September of last year, so it's about 6 months into it. Technically, I'm still on a break and I can decide to go back, but I can't really say that I want to entirely, but the option's on the table. So I'm living the life, I'd say. Ask me in a year.
Okay, I have a question for both the art and design individuals. So kind of what are some goals for kind of your dream, I guess they would say, in terms of growing your business to a point? Like for you, Kyra, I'm not sure exactly how you do your business in terms of, do you do the shoe before it's sold or someone orders and you get the shoe done? Kind of what is your expectation for yourself to growing it to the next level where you want currently? Or same thing with you?
That's a big question. So the way that I'll start with the way that I work. Typically everything's all inclusive. So the price includes the shoes. I order it, paint it, and then ship it out. But a goal of mine actually is to have some type of rework or recycle program, probably start local, where people can bring in some shoes. I've done some, was it like refurbished or, I'm just trying to say like when you clean the shoes. So they bring in their shoes, clean it, and I give it some type of new life. So maybe I have them choose a color theme or a pattern, and then do it like that. That's something that I'm trying to work towards. I think that's a big goal. And then to get to a point where I need a team. Right now I'm a one-person team, but I don't need the team right now. So yeah, I think just to expand overall and to get that rework program into play, I think that'll be a big thing to identify me away from the other competitors or other customizers.
And I'll say, honestly, my goals change like every year. Sometimes I'll even go to like a 6-month mark. But right now, my personal goals are completing those 2 projects. And a kind of overall goal that I have for myself is to be fully self-sufficient as an artist, like my own studio where I'm developing my film, scanning, printing my own work as well too. And another goal that I have just at a kind of community service level is I would love to have different creative studios around Raleigh, North Carolina, in ideally these Black neighborhoods that kids can go in and just experiment with different things, like whether it be music, photography, just anything. They have the opportunity to try and fail if they want to fail, just an opportunity.
Thank you.
This is kind of a broad general question. What has surprised you the most in your journey?
I can take that one first. What I would say was my transition into the fine art space. I'm really confident in my own work, but once it was put up with other photographers, and an example is the exhibition at Anchor Light. It was an exhibition called Give Black Raleigh Her Flowers, basically celebrating the Black women that have shaped Raleigh. And each photographer was given 2 women to shoot, and I was shooting Octavia Rainey and Carmen Coffin. And the image that I shot, the image that I made of Octavia Rainey was one of the favorites of the entire exhibition. Like a lot of people were gravitating towards it, and it was just, I was seeing people do that. They were telling me about it, and I was just so shocked and surprised. I was like, wow, like I like my work, but that was just another moment that kind of shows me like, okay, I can really do this.
I think for me, there's just so much uncertainty with this life that, a little bit more cynical. Like when something goes my way, that's sort of surprising. You're always, especially if you're like leading a group, you're always planning for plan B, C, D, E. That you sort of expect things to go wrong. Like when you're preparing material, you're almost like, make sure you're calming people's doubts. And so it's like you're in that mindset of like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. If this doesn't work, like this is how we're gonna tackle it. So like when just you meet a random person that really wants to help out, or someone told me earlier today that they made some progress on the sensor development, like little surprises, but like those always make me feel good about what I'm doing, like where we're going. I wouldn't say there's any like big major surprises, but yeah, just like the little things.
I would say that maybe 2. So I think my first big like surprise in terms of business was my first international. It was in Paris or something. That was pretty cool. I have a lot of clients in Europe. But I think in terms of entrepreneurship overall, I think something that shocked me is how quickly things can like grow but you have to feed it. So like this is my message, like make sure you have a plan. Because I took kind of almost a year-long break this past year, just been a struggle. So I definitely want to say like make sure you have a plan and hold yourself. But it's also okay to like not, take care of yourself, but definitely have a plan. So it's shocking how quickly things can grow, but also how quickly things can just.
One of the biggest surprises for me, this is my second go round. I used to own an indoor baseball and softball academy that failed miserably. 10,000 square feet, a lot of debt. I was gun shy to do it again, but the power of community. I love what you said in terms of holding yourself accountable. Yes, and finding other folks to hold you accountable as well. Because teamwork really does make the dream work. And I've got 3 employees in my company, and you're looking at all 3 of them. It's me, myself, and I. Actually, I'm hiring my first virtual assistant. She starts on Monday. It's going to be good. But I just learned that the community, if you, I'm 44 years old, that ego, I don't want to ask someone for help. I don't want to put them out. They're super busy. Nah, Larry, you're going to either bash your head up against the wall, or you can learn from mistakes, which I made plenty. I got knots all over my head, or you can learn from mentors, folks that have already gone down that path. I prefer mentors now. Before I wanted to be Superman, but I've learned that Superman will get you a failed business in my situation.
That was a really good question.
I would also say the power of LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, that's good, but you should be leveraged. It's the biggest business sandbox out there. LinkedIn is my jam. I get 93% of my business inbound via LinkedIn. I put out content. It's just like we have a relationship. There's a saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I say, nah, it ain't even who you know. It's who knows you and who trusts you and who believes in you that really makes things happen. LinkedIn, if you're in B2B, it's a playground. If you're in B2C, TikTok, that's my TikTok dance, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, there's a lot of platforms out there. And we're in a place where we're fitting to get loose, amplify. Sometimes we want to, don't be the best kept secret. You want to make sure you shout it out to the world. Hey, you're the best daggone bird tour guy that's out there. Show me some love.
I think that's important. This is a comment that I think the theme of the entire research symposium, specifically yesterday, was the importance of having community building. And so my question that I'd like to present to each of you is, how do you best feel supported? You know, when Larry went through his introduction, he spoke to his children. Kyra spoke to her brother and how she got started. King got his mom over here, you know what I mean? Travis talked about his roommate and how he got started. You know, did you find like resources through, you know, your campus community, through social media, through a platform like LinkedIn or Instagram? Cause like I'm ready to buy Larry's book, you know what I mean? And
Me too.
I wanted to ask, does he have it in your hand, you know what I mean? Cause I like to support that way, you know what I mean? If it's jolting into action, you know, some of the things that he's written, that he's gifted with, you know, we can carry that into the community that I'm connected to, right? So how do you best feel supported? And, you know, any of y'all feel welcome to challenge.
Definitely social media for me. That's just where everything lives. So, you know, as simple as reshares, likes, comments, that helps with engagement in this algorithm, you know, but it helps a lot. And also, if you're a customer, like reviews, just talking about it, and having a conversation about the experience and sharing that with others.
I realized all the people in the triangle with money know each other, and entrepreneurship is just a big circle, especially with business owners and people buying up all the land around here and just doing all the crazy stuff. But it seemed like it was a circle. If you want to do something, you know, that scales, you have to know someone in there, especially when it talks like VC and stuff like that. It was a matter of like, how can you break into that circle, have one or two champions, and then it seems like they sort of just amplify who you are, what you're working on. They meet someone who's like, oh, they also do medical devices, or you might want to talk to this guy. I just been casually introduced to other people that, you know, either started medical devices or, you know, have other stories about their businesses or other local pockets of, you know, ecosystem communities. Like First Flight Venture Center is one of them. I go to some of their events and they're trying to build up like their entrepreneurship presence and sort of their ecosystem. But I met one of the guys who introduced me to them, like after Wolf Den, like after one of the competitions here, just randomly, and then, you know, he just sort of like stuck out his leg and sort of helped me out. But I think that just the idea of like there's a circle that a lot of people that look like us don't have access to, especially initially. Figuring out how to break into that was probably just like a balance of luck, but also like you have to be really intentional about how you do that, because you only get so many chances. You know, I've met a lot of people that like they only want to talk to you. They like you can do something for them, or you're already successful. You need stuff next month. So like I think when you come across a person that's like wants to help you genuinely for the purpose of helping you and seeing you succeed, if that's a person that you should definitely just cultivate that relationship with. But I think, you know, when you get to that stage where everyone's, you know, making money and throwing around, you know, millions of dollars, and oh, you heard about these new people? Just learning how to read people is almost like an art sometimes. But I think for the most part, those people are a little bit more easier to read because, you know, they just want to make money. But I think once you're in sort of that circle and you know a couple people, I think, you know, sort of like the LinkedIn effect, someone knows someone else, I know someone else, I know someone else. But I think breaking into whatever circle of like the top echelon of people is definitely important if you want to, you know, go from like 0 to 1 or 0 to 100.
Yeah.
But found some good people in the community in that space, but I wouldn't say like everyone's a good person, but yeah, they're honest people because I know what they're after.
Yeah, I'm glad that Travis said, being intentional, because that's definitely something that I do. I get real intricate with my networking. And through that, that's built a community of support and just support in general. Like, networking, I'll think of it kind of backwards. Like I'll see, okay, this is the person I want to connect with. I'll see what type of events they have going on. If they're going to be at an art fair, if they're going to be at an exhibition opening or artist talk, and then make sure I connect with them. But it's that, and then really just being there, being present, and being able to say like, I'm an artist too, or I'm doing this too, and showing them the work. It gets people interested, because I feel like in any space, like having a good product, whatever the product may be, is like purely half the battle. Like everything else, you have to do everything else to really push yourself into a space of like, okay, I'm here, this is what I do, I'm great at this as well. But just showing up is the main thing, being in these spaces.
Intentionality, hard work, and having a go-giver mentality. There's so many people who just like to take. You like to give, no expectation of return. In the long run, you're going to be blessed, has been my experience. When you lead with a, how can I help you? How can I serve you? I'm in this community. I know you might be a big time VC, but how can I serve you and support you? How can I support you around some of these new social media platforms? I'm a mentor with the NC State Entrepreneurship Clinic. And sometimes the students say, I don't have anything to offer. And my Steve Harvey Family Feud Boys survey says, yeah, you got a ton to offer. It's all about your perspective. These older folks that you're talking to, they don't know anything about don't know anything about IG real. I don't even know how to I'll be balling on a budget. Like it's really when you get it's amazing how much people return to you. I mean, it's you talked about reviews. LinkedIn reviews, that's I don't have a resume. It's like if you want to work with me, just check out my LinkedIn reviews. That's my Carfax. Kind of like before you go to a new restaurant or hotel, you check the stars. Like, you got 230 something stars, and they all talk about energy. I don't know where that came from, but I'm the energy guy. So the community, just the power of it, ooh, it's so strong, but it takes work. It doesn't. A lot of folks want that magic pixie dust. They want that silver bullet. I got a secret for you. There is none. Hard work, you can't replace it. With the intentionality, having a plan, but also being flexible, not just being rigid to that plan. It's kind of like sports. I played sports growing up. You got your game plan, but sometimes, is the remix. Just having fun. If you're not having fun with what you're doing, ain't nobody got time for that. For me, I like that for it.
I'd also say that to Larry's note about being a go-giver, that's definitely something that I step into as well, because even today, like before, I work a 9-to-5 day job as well. I do digital marketing for a company, and I had a call with an artist friend of mine who has done like a lot of things. He recently just sold a $10,000 piece, and we just had conversations, and I'm literally saying like, I appreciate the things that you're telling me. Is there anything that you can learn from me? And the interesting thing is that there are things that people can learn from you, whether you have something to specifically offer or you don't know what it is. Like there's things that if someone is engaging in the conversation with you, there's definitely something they can learn from you too. So it's been multiple situations where like I'm not expecting people to, gain certain insight from me, but in the conversation, they're asking me questions that I can help them as well too. So.
We'll take that last.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. I gotta really go, but I just wanted to say, I know y'all talking about all the media, social media stuff, kind of old, and I was wondering, do all the ones on the panel right now, do y'all have business cards?
What's that?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, okay, I'm just curious. And also, I just want to know, everybody, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years from now? I mean, at your level right now, where do you see yourself? We're talking about your vision, your purpose, your goal. So where you are right now, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Everyone.
I love having those conversations, quite honestly, because it shapes you. It helps you whether you achieve the goal or not. Like it puts you in a position of thinking and being like, I'm about to do this, and this is how it's going to go. But I don't want to just. I mean, I because I don't thought about this for a while. Like I asked myself that, I asked my close friends that, like, and mine is basically I see myself living in DC with that self-sufficient studio space, doing my artist talks, working with a company that I actually enjoy more than anything, because I personally want to have like some type of 9 to 5 while I'm doing my artistry. I've seen a lot of different artists that I actually like do it and it works well for them. And that's the kind of road that I want to be on. So I see myself doing that. Definitely have very specific institutions and gallery spaces I'll be talking in and exhibiting and stuff. So.
Thank you, son.
I personally get my sense of reward when maybe selfishly, like if I can contribute something that helps someone else unlock their potential or improve themselves, and like I could say like I had a part in that, like that kind of like gets me going. So can't build a medical device overnight. So like 5 years, I still might be building it, but in an ideal world, I think I'd be sort of like an entrepreneur in residence for like a VC and like helping, new budding companies and providing advice, because like I've gone through it as well. I definitely enjoyed talking to high schoolers and middle schoolers because I wasn't exposed to entrepreneurship or even biomedical engineering until college. So it's like just like exposure to like what sort of everyone in this room is doing is, I think, important. Like the first step to actually, if you want to go the business route, like we just don't know. We don't have a lot of those conversations. Like it's not stuff that my family talks about. I sure had to get exposed to this on the off chance. I think there's a lot of intentionality behind that I can definitely contribute to with some of my experiences.
For me, I plan on no more 9 to 5, full-time content creation and my sneaker business still. I do some photography on the side, but I just never, like, I don't have time to do it right now with my schedule. But now that the sun's staying out for longer, hopefully I can start working at it. But yeah, I do content creation and influencing. So hopefully in the next year, honestly, I can start doing that and then be able to travel.
I'm living the dream, but 5 years from now, I want to be doing it even bigger, speaking, emceeing, coaching, training, creating content, as well as having a group of coaches that are having even greater impact in their own lives and in other people's lives, and then hosting my own events. Right now, I'm knocking on other people's doors, trying to get into their event. Why don't I just create my own event? I'm hosting my first event in a month down in Austin called Golf and Sales, which are two things that I love that I'm not very good at, but we're going Lake LBJ, a retreat mastermind, folks to talk about sales and the golf. Tiger Woods is my cousin, so I got him on blood. I'm Larry, hit it in the woods. Bad guys. I appreciate the courtesy, Thomas.
I will.
Yeah.
I really appreciate y'all being here, and I know we're a little bit over time, but I know there's also a networking event downstairs.
Downstairs.
Is it Duke Energy Hall?
It's in Duke Energy Hall, yes.
It's our big conference area, so I know some of y'all are probably busy, you gotta head out, but for anyone that wants to hang out, network, hang out, and thank you, Jess. For being our host.
Thank you all for coming.
We really appreciate y'all being here. Absolutely. Sure, we got 2 things coming up that probably be worth thinking about.
So on April 11th, we will have a startup job fair with Raleigh Founded at the Entrepreneurship Garage, which is just down those steps, literally right at the corner there. Lastly, the award ceremony for this year's E-Games, which is coming up, is on April 13th at 5:30 p.m. and that's gonna be in Tally. Yeah, so if you have any more questions on that, you want to know more about, you can discuss with us.
Yeah, it's basically, we're gonna have a big award ceremony for our annual startup competition for students. In addition to that, there's also a lot of different like teams and programs here at NC State for student entrepreneurs. There's our social innovation fellows, engineering entrepreneurs program. We're gonna have almost 40 student teams that are launching ventures that are gonna be showcasing at that like first time, food and drink and all that stuff. So that one's a really great one, April 13th, 5:30.
Yes, for the grant. Come on in. We got 3 seconds. All right.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great meeting y'all.
Nice.
What's your
Yeah.
focus?
Always.
Go ahead and
Yeah.